Both of us are coaches. We actually met in coach training together. Did not realize that we only lived less than a mile apart from each other while we were coaching with people from all over the world. So when they say it's a small world, it really is. I do life transition coaching mostly, but when you say life transition, it really encompasses all of your life, including your career and even possibly business development. So what we're going to do, I'm going to just share with you a little bit about what coaching is, maybe what it's not, and then what Cindy and I are going to do is actually do a little coaching session. Now, this is not going to be your standard coaching session, but it's going to give you an idea of what it feels like and kind of what happens.
Be coached.
And to be coached. Coaching, honestly, it's about a partnership. It's about a partnership between the coach and the client. It's about engaging the client in moving forward. It's exploring. It's pulling it out from within. The coach provides feedback, an objective perspective, and is responsible with the client for taking the steps to produce the results he or she desires. Coaches do not, and what we don't do is focus on any psychological or emotional areas.
I'll just give you an example.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of my clients, we realized when she came back from maternity leave, she was actually suffering from postpartum depression. So in the course of our coaching, we realized she really needed to go to therapy. So, I'm doing leadership coaching with her, but she's also now seeing a therapist for her postpartum depression, and it's working really well together.
But coaching can encompass life coaching, it can be business coaching, leadership coaching, there's spiritual coaching, there's career coaching. Any facet of life, there's generally a coach who is going to be supporting a client. You can also do coaching around finances. You can do coaching around, just literally everything. One of the things that happens, and what we do, and I don't want to read this word by word, but coaches are trained to listen, to observe, and ask powerful questions. They customize their approach to the individual client's needs and to elicit solutions and strategies from the client. They believe that the client is naturally creative, resourceful, and that the coach's job is to provide support to enhance the skills, the resources, and the creativity that the client already has. You already have this. It's bringing it out.
The reality is there are zero barriers to entry. You could hang up a shingle tomorrow and say you're a life coach. That said, most companies won't hire you if you are not certified in some way. And there's a couple of institutions. We are both certified through the International Coach Federation. That's the class we took. And then there are several programs in the area that are also ICF certified. So I'm going to actually go through some of the industry information. If you're interested in becoming a coach, these are some good things to know. First of all, it's over $1 billion industry and it's growing at 6% a year. I mean, the explosion of coaching is unprecedented. I mean, every major corporation now hires coaches for almost at least their senior leadership and now moving down into middle management. There's 50,000 coaches worldwide, 18,000 just in the US, and that's a little dated. I did this 6 months ago, so it's probably more than that. The hourly average rate is $75 to $250 an hour, and that's really based on your certification level. We were taught by a master coach. She probably charges $500 an hour. So depending on which level you're at. Personal and life coaching are becoming a bit saturated, but executive and leadership coaching are growing because of what I said before. Every major corporation is now hiring coaches for their leadership teams. There are several accredited training programs. You should find the one that fits what you want to do. There are coaching programs for ministry, as John mentioned. There might be coaching programs for mindfulness, coaching programs for health and nutrition. So you really should find a training program that fits what you ultimately want to do. But some of the programs are very general. Like Georgetown is a very famous program here, and I know they offer veterans some sort of discount, although I don't know exactly what it is. But if they, without the discount, it's $14,000 a year, or for the program. It's 8 months. You go for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's in person, but you get 148 and a half hours, so that's not bad. American University is also in person, $10,000. I don't know if they offer a veteran discount or not. We just found out George Mason has a new program. It's 5 months, also in person, 3 days long. It's $10,500. So they're not cheap. We did an online course that was cheap and got the same certification. Our course was, what was it, $2,600 or something?
Yeah, it was about $2,600, yeah.
6 months from June to December, online. Like he said, we were in class with people from all over the world, 2.5 hours a week. So it was I did it because my friend had done it and it was good and it's very inexpensive. Coaching is very automated now through Zoom, Skype, whatever, telephone. So you have to have that automation. There is increasing regulation, although right now you really can just hang up a shingle, but they're getting more and more regulated by the fact that more and more people and companies are requiring some sort of certification. More and more companies are requiring that you demonstrate measurable results. So, so if you have an individual coach, I take an intake form at the beginning and I ask them what their goal is ultimately, and that's how I assess them at the end. When I have a corporate client, we agree up front what is the company's goals for this leadership training, and then at the end of a certain period of time I give them a synopsis of, did we meet that goal. It is a little nebulous because when you're coaching people, it's really hard. It's not very specific, but generally if they say their goal is to find a new job and they get a new job, then that's the result. If they say that their goal is to be more confident, and that's a little bit harder to judge, but they'll tell you, I do feel more confident, or I don't. So it's a little bit harder. The challenges of coaching or setting up a shingle, if you will, is really the marketing piece. How do you get your name out there? How do you get the business? How do you get coaching clients? So you really do have to do your homework and talk to other coaches that have been successful to see how they've been managing to do that. I mean, your network is just critically important. Social media is very helpful, but I would say most coaches get most of their business from networking and referrals. With that,
Yep.
we're going to do a role play of most coaching sessions last between 45 minutes and an hour, and if you can't commit to that time, it makes it very difficult to coach. We're going to do a very abbreviated role play of 15 to 20 minutes, just so you can get an idea of the kinds of questions that are asked and the process.
So Cindy, so I think we have about 20 minutes together today, and so I'm just curious, what would you like to focus on specifically while we're together today?
Well, I think what I'd like to do, I recently was retired from banking after 35 years, so it's what defined me. It's all I've ever known, and now I really don't know what to do. So what I think I'd like to do today is try to figure out, how do I figure out what I want to do?
So what does figuring out look like for you? I mean, when you say figuring out, what does that look like?
I'm not sure. I think that it might be helpful for me if I had some steps to take, tools. I don't know. To be honest, it's been difficult because it's really all I've ever known, and I've never known anything else. So when you get up in the morning and you had a routine, and now I don't have that routine, so maybe what that looks like to me is creating a routine to help me figure out what I want to do.
Okay. So I heard a couple things. So I heard you want some steps. identify some steps. You also talked about tools. You talked about a routine. And I'm just wondering, for the time we have, what do you want to leave with? I mean, you've captured some of those, but what's most important for you to leave with after we're done today?
I think I need steps. I need a I mean, I know I said steps and routine, but they're different. I need to have, I always, when I was working, I had to-do lists. I lived and died by my to-do list. So I think for me, what would work best is having a to-do list.
A to-do list, okay.
So having some steps of what I need to do.
And if you think about that to-do list, what's going to be a reasonable number of steps that you want to capture today?
Probably not more than 3, realistically.
Okay.
That's probably all I could manage in my brain.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So I heard you say earlier, you've retired.
I was retired.
Was retired. Now you don't know what to do.
Right.
So if you didn't have any blockage, anything that would hold you from a dream, from an idea that you've been thinking about, I mean, what comes up for you when you think about what you might like to do? Putting that work in the past in the back.
Well, if I could get paid to watch television, I would do that. But that's not realistic.
Okay.
Well, when I think about what I loved about my old job was, management isn't great, but one thing I liked about it was developing the people that worked for me and seeing them, rise to their highest and best use. So I enjoyed that. That was important to me.
As you think about moving forward, and you just talked about developing people, I mean, what would you identify as some of your, and I like to go with gifts first. We often talk about strengths and talents and skills, but you identified something that you enjoy doing, but what would you call some of your gifts that you used during your time?
I like that word. Well, I think that one of the reasons I was successful developing my staff was because I'm really good at assessing people's talents and figuring out where they best fit in the organization. So sometimes if they work for me, they may not have been great at what they did for me, but I could figure out where they would be best. So I think one of my gifts, if that's what you want to call it, is I have the ability to assess people quickly and well.
How important is it for you to do that in your future work?
Well, that's what I loved. So now that I think about it, that probably would be something I'd enjoy doing. Can you get paid for that?
Maybe that's something that you could explore, looking at different occupations potentially that require that gift, that talent, and that skill. What comes up for you when I say that?
Well, if I could figure out what that profession was, then yeah, I'd probably enjoy doing that.
So since you've identified, and we'll focus just really on that piece that you talked about, what resources do you need? And this is where we start going into some of the steps to be taken, but what resources would you need to be able to start identifying and moving in that direction?
Well, I don't know exactly what I would need because I hadn't thought about it. But I guess it would probably be helpful if I could talk to other people that are already doing that. That might be helpful.
So it sounds like you've identified something in terms of one of the steps, and that's talking to somebody.
Yeah. That would probably be a good first step.
As you think about it a little bit more, what other support or resources might you need?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I would have to do a lot of research. So I guess I'd have to research what kinds of careers are like that, in addition to trying to talk to people and just getting their input. I guess I would do that. I guess I could do that. Do some research.
What would the research look like again?
Well, I guess part of research is talking to other people and maybe doing research online and yeah, I mean, probably those two things for the most part.
Who, if anyone, might help you in this process as well?
I don't know. Who could help me? I guess what might be helpful is talking to other people that also left the bank the same time I did, to sort of see what their journey's been and how they've gone about it, determining what they want to do. Maybe that would be a good resource for me as well, which I hadn't thought about doing, but I probably should.
Do you have some people in mind?
I do, actually, now that you brought it up. There are specific people that left the same time I did that would be great to talk to.
So it sounds as though we've captured a couple steps that you can take right now.
Yeah.
And if you would, could you just kind of go over what came up for you during our conversation?
So what came up for me is that I actually have something to put on my to-do list now. And I'm going to talk to people that left the bank the same time I did. I'm going to do some research around, what careers are out there around developing people, and talk to other people that I know might be already doing that. So those are good steps for me. So thank you.
Absolutely. As you think about the week ahead, what would be your goal to accomplishing these steps before the next time we meet?
I'd like to get all three of them done before we meet again. So that is my goal, is to get all those done before we meet again.
And how might you hold yourself accountable?
Well, I'm going to have you hold me accountable. So.
Okay, so I'll be part of that process. And how
Okay.
will you hold yourself accountable? As I'm with you here, but how do you hold yourself accountable?
Well, like I said, I really work well with to-do lists. So having that in front of me all the time and being able to check it off, I think would be very helpful.
Excellent. So do you feel as though we've captured what your goal was for today and
Yes.
your takeaways for the session?
Yes. Thank you.
Wonderful. You're welcome.
Thank you. So that's a very abbreviated coaching session. What it really is about self-awareness, because as John said at the beginning, it's coaching is really just pulling out of you what you already know, but you haven't thought about. So that's why it's all about asking very powerful questions.